Hi everyone, I'm Bonita from Pennies to Dollars and welcome back to my channel. I love helping people figure out ways to save money. And that's what this channel is about, is frugal living and finding more ways all the time to save money, even if we're experienced at doing it, even if we're just learning how. We can share ideas to figure out how to save money. I believe that we all get comfortable with however we are living. If we are living paycheck to paycheck, we get used to figuring out how to make that work, what bills to pay, what ones to let ride, what ones we can add a little bit to or take a little bit away from to get by until we can get some more money to pay that bill. What vendors will work with us to do that? And as we get used to living like that, like a lot of Americans do, I challenge you to think about getting used to having money in your savings account, getting used to what that feels like, getting used to looking at a certain balance and thinking that is normal. It's normal for me to have $500 in my checking account. It's normal for me to have $1,500 in my checking account. It's normal for me to have $10,000 in my savings account. Whatever we get used to becomes normal. And you will find that as those balances creep up, it becomes normal. And you think, I always have that much in the account. That is normal. But we have to get to that point first. And getting to that point first requires saving along the way and figuring out different strategies to save money along the way. I was thinking the other day I had lost 3 pounds. I have been working so hard to lose weight and I lost 3 pounds. And I looked at the scale and I thought, this is my new normal. This is what I weigh now. I can get used to always thinking that I weigh this and then I can work at getting it lower. And I think it's that way with our savings account. We can get used to that amount. And then as it creeps up, we can get used to that amount and say, you know, this is normal for me. I'm not going to let it drop below that amount because this is the normal amount that I have in there. This is how it's worked for me with my savings. And all of those little amounts, they make a huge difference. And I have suggested before that we think about unconventional places to shop, different ways to spend our money so that we can save and still have everything that we need. Today, I went to a Hispanic grocery store because I couldn't find what I wanted at Walmart. And I knew that Walmart used to carry this, but I couldn't find it. It's actually a Hispanic type of laundry soap. And I use the powder kind too, and sometimes I like to use the liquid, but I couldn't find the liquid. And I thought, you know, I know that they will have it, and I bet they have a good price, a good comparable price, so I'm just going to go in there and look for it. They not only had it like this, they had it in the gallon bottle, which I was so excited. I thought, wow, I can buy a gallon of this at a time instead of buying these little bottles, and then it won't be so hard for me to find when I need it. I only use 1 tablespoon of this, and with what is in this bottle, 33.81 fluid ounces, I can make 67.5 loads of laundry. This costs about $2.27 for 67 loads of laundry. It costs about 6 cents an ounce. And I have gotten used to spending about that to do my laundry. Now, we all get used to a certain brand or a certain type of thing that we buy, whether it's powder, whether it's liquid, and that's just what we always buy. But they also had another brand that I've used the powder before, but I've never seen it in liquid. So I was excited. It's called Roma, and it actually was even cheaper than the Foca. It was about $2 a bottle, when the other one was like $2.27 for the same ounces. So I was thrilled. I was like, this is comparable. This is perfect. This is even less money. So keep your mind open to things like that. We can't always think, well, I'm going to use Tide. That's all I'm going to use. I have to refrain myself sometimes because I will watch people shop as I'm shopping. And I think that comes from me running a grocery store for so long. I got used to watching how people shopped so that I could see their patterns, so I knew what to stock and I knew what they were interested in. And I still find myself doing that. And I really have to refrain from saying something to someone because there's so many times I see them grab something and I'm like, you know, you can save $3 by doing it this way. But I don't want to be that person. So I just keep quiet. But I was behind somebody the other day in the soda line, and I shared with you in another video that I was able to pick up 12 packs of Diet Pepsi for $3.99. That makes 24 cans about $8, right? The guy in front of me that was probably in his mid-20s just was walking in stride, barely even slowed down, grabbed a 24 pack, put it in his cart, and just kept walking. Like, this is what I always buy. This is what I always get. This is the size I get. I know what I need, and I'm going on to the next thing on my list. He didn't take any time to think about it. You can tell that was just his normal, usual way of doing things, the way he's been used to doing things. And I thought, I just put in my cart 24 cans of pop for $8, and he just put in his cart 24 cans of the same thing for $11. I saved $3 by getting it into 12 packs. But he just kept going with the flow. He might have been in a hurry. He might have thought, I don't have time to compare prices. But this is where I'm going with this. This is why I have savings. This is why I have everything I need, and I still have an abundance of other money that I can use for other things, is because I do put a lot of thought into what I buy, what packaging I buy it in, whether it's cheaper this way or that way. And I look at those things as I'm shopping. I'm a very careful shopper. Sometimes I'm probably a slow shopper. My husband probably doesn't want to shop with me, but he sees the benefit in how much money I save by just looking at little details like that. So the first thing to do is to get uncomfortable with the way that you usually do things so that you can step back and look at it and say, you know, I think I might be able to do this a different way. I might be able to save a few dollars doing it like this. All those dollars and pennies and dimes and nickels, they add up. And that's why I have savings. I just did a short about that. That's why I have savings. So let's talk about some other unconventional ways that you can save money. Now, I've mentioned before that I like to use those reward apps or those receipt apps that save me money just by snapping a picture of my receipt. Many of you know about Fetch. I also use Receipt Jar. I also use Receipt Pal, and I also use Receipt Hog and Swag Bucks. Those, all you have to do is take a picture of your receipt. And I know people will say, I don't have time for that. But think about how much money you can save by just snapping pictures. I saved those up for reward points, and I'll put the links in the description box if you haven't heard of some of them. But I snap a picture of those, and then I save up the points to either cash out to PayPal where I have cash, or I use the points to buy other things that I would usually use money to buy. And I use those reward points to buy things I would usually buy at a discount with that free reward point. So the Fetch points and also like the Receipt Pal, you can trade those in for Amazon rewards. You can get cards like gift cards by just snapping pictures of your receipts. Then I will go on Amazon and I'll look for something that I already need or that I already think would save me money in another area. And I use those points to buy things for my pantry that will be cheaper than if I bought them in another way by using those points in that discount. For instance, my husband is gluten-free. I've shared that with you before. How many of you remember buckwheat pancake mix or anything that had buckwheat in it? Buckwheat is plant-based, but it's also a type of flour that you can interchange with regular flour, and it's also gluten-free. So I know that gluten-free flour is expensive, right? I mean, you can maybe buy it for $4.99 for 22 ounces. It's very expensive. So, I mean, that's more than $2.50 a pound. And if you get it in like 25-pound bags like we do, it's a little bit cheaper, but it's still very expensive. So I used my last fetch reward to buy buckwheat flour. And then I put it in this canister and I labeled it, and I'm interchanging it with some of the flour recipes that I have. And with my fetch points, it made my 5-pound thing of flour be about $1 a pound. So that was so much cheaper than the gluten-free flour, but I can use it like gluten-free flour in my recipes, and I saved about $1.50 a pound by doing that. So see, that's the little tricks that I use with those points. I don't build them up and then use those points to buy something I want. I use it to buy something that will benefit my budget, and then I use the money that's left in my budget to save to buy what I want. And I don't know about you or how you do your budget, but let me know if you do this. I track my spending. Now, I only started doing this about a year ago. I had never tracked my spending before. I tracked my spending before by looking at my checking account balance, and if I had money in there, I was doing okay. And then about a year ago, I thought, you know, I want to buckle down a little bit. I want to see what I'm really spending. Maybe I'm not spending what I think I am. Maybe I'm spending more or less in different areas that I can shuffle around. And I realized that in some areas I was spending way less than I had budgeted. And in other areas I was spending more. Now, if I go over my budget on, say, food for the month, I will carry that negative balance forward. And then the next month, I will spend even less so that I stay overall in budget. Now, do you start with a fresh budget each month if you go over? Or do you carry that negative balance forward and count that so that you don't get behind? I also count my change when people give me change back during a transaction. Now, this may sound petty, and you may have seen people stand there and count their bills, but I was taught to do this as a young child. I was taught not everyone has good math skills. It's not an insult. It's not being rude to stand there and count your money. It's to make sure that you're getting back what you think you're getting back, that you're not paying more for something than what you planned on spending. Now, when we had the grocery store, we taught so many kids how to make change. We had not had a grocery store in that town in 15 years, which means most of the kids in high school had never had a local grocery store to buy a candy bar, get sent downtown to buy a gallon of milk, none of this. And we would find kids just handing us money and having no idea what they were to get back. And so we started teaching them, and we even started asking them, how much money should you get back? And one little girl had gotten so good at her math skills, she would come up, she would listen to what it cost, and she'd say, you're supposed to give me back such and such. And we'd be like, that is exactly right. Good job. Because I even found the other day, I gave someone a $10 bill and some change, and my item cost $4 and some change. And they closed the register and handed me my item. And I said, I gave you a $10 bill. And they said, oh, I guess you did. It's so easy for us to just tune out, be messing with our phone, be thinking about the next thing we need to do, maybe even be marking things off of our list and not really pay attention to the cash that they give us back. Now, I know a lot of people don't use cash anymore, but it's still important to look at your receipt and make sure that they punched in the right numbers. Look at that screen and make sure they punched in the right numbers. We're all guilty of fat fingering things and hitting the wrong numbers. It can be totally unintentional, but paying attention during those transactions can save you money. Also, keep my pantry simple and usable. I buy the things that I know we're going to use. I buy more of the things that I know that we will use quicker. We don't have a second refrigerator. We don't have a second freezer, and we have a small chest freezer. There's only 2 of us. So that is a really good size for us to keep on hand. And when those areas get full, I stop shopping. I don't buy anymore if I don't have room for it. And I pay attention to what I have room for, what I'm running low on, and I keep a list of what I'm running low on so I can replace it with things when I see that they are a good price. Are there things you can change in your household to save you some money? For instance, I stopped buying razors to shave my legs. My husband joined this Dollar Shave Club, and he pays pennies to get his shaving stuff he needs every single month. Well, he has an extra razor, and he said, honey, why don't you just use this? I'll give you one of my razors. I have extra. So I use his replaceable blade razor, and I don't use anything else. Those disposable razors can really add up, and I don't have to buy them anymore. It's something I can mark off of my list. So just as debt creeps up on you, and prices creep up on you, and weight can creep up on you, savings can do the same thing if we are careful in how we spend our money and tuck that extra $2 or $3 or $6 back, and then just try to ignore it and forget about it. Act like it's not even there. And then when you do look at the balance and you see there's $200, you say, that's normal for me. I normally have $200. And when it hits $250, say the same thing. And you would be surprised when it hits $20, $30, $40, $50,000, you can still look at that and say, that's normal for me. I don't want to drop below that number unless I really need it, or I really want something, or something's really important to me. And then when those times come up, you have the money because you've been saving in small increments, and it has sneaked up on you, and you now have savings. I hope this has been inspiring to you today and helpful. I hope that you will continue to watch the videos and subscribe. And I thank you so much for joining me today. Good luck on building that savings balance.